Today's talk is all about prints. Before making prints, you need to pay attention to your monitor calibration and your colour managed workflow settings. This is going to apply whether you're having prints made by a lab or are printing your own with an inkjet printer. So first, let's look at the monitor. There are so many different monitors out there with different settings and capabilities, so do some research before buying one, and at the very least try to buy one that has IPS technology, which gives a good viewing angle so the colours and contrasts don't change much as you move your head from side to side. But you still need to adjust the monitor when you get it home, because in their native settings, straight off the shelf, monitors are always too bright. If your monitor is too bright, you'll make your images darker to compensate, and that means they'll come out too dark when printed. To adjust your monitor manually, there are various settings already in your monitor that you can change to give a more accurate display. To do this manual adjustment, use test pages like the ones supplied at Lagom. This is the test images that you get at a website called lagom.nl, and you want to go to the LCD test pages. You get a welcome screen that explains how to use the pages, but you want to pay attention to some of the pages more than others, because some of the pages relate to things that you can't actually change on your monitor. And so we want to pay attention to things like, first of all, the step wedge, which is very important, and view this in the light that you will normally be processing your images. You should be able to see a distinction between every single wedge on those diagrams there. The next one that is useful to have a look at is the gamma calibration. It's probably not going to show up too well on the projection here, but if you follow the directions on the words there on the screen, it will explain to you how to test your monitor to make sure that your gamma is set correctly. You can check your black levels with the little boxes on here, and your white levels as well, and it's also useful to make sure that your monitor isn't gradient banding. So there are various other things like being able to test the viewing angle, but as I say, you can't change the viewing angle. That actually comes with your monitor. But that's a useful way to begin to make adjustments using the menus in your monitor and setting them up to the different screens in Lagom. So the next level is to profile the monitor, which not only sets the brightness and contrast but also adjusts the colours and the grey balance, and this should be done at least twice a year. The Spider X Pro is actually on special offer direct from Datacolor at the moment, and that works well with Windows 11. With the Spider, it will then create an ICC profile for your monitor, which is saved within your system, and when you boot up your system, it will load the profile into the monitor and you'll get your color settings right. So beyond profiling the monitor, we're next going to have a look at Photoshop's color workflow. So let's get Photoshop open. Here we go. Here is Photoshop, and the color setting for Photoshop you'll find if you go to Edit, Color Settings. At the moment there is a custom setting here which is giving me a working space of Adobe RGB 1998. If you're working in RAW files, then you want at least Adobe RGB. You don't want to be working in sRGB, because sRGB is a smaller gamut and it doesn't take the advantage of working in 16-bit. So the very minimum I would suggest is that you work in Adobe RGB. But I have my custom settings, my own settings, and we'll go to those. And this is what I work in. I work in Pro Photo RGB, which is the widest gamut of colour. For the RGB, the CMYK is actually set at Euroscale coated version 2, but you don't actually need to worry about the CMYK settings unless you're actually sending to a magazine or something like that, where they will need that setting. You can leave the grey and spot settings as they are and preserve the embedded profiles, because sometimes you will not want to change the profile as you bring it into Photoshop. The profile mismatches are often very annoying if they come up all the time, but if there's a profile missing entirely, then it's useful to have that ticked so that you can actually attach a profile before sending it to the printer. The other settings you can leave at their defaults, and once you've put these settings in, you can save them. Just click on the save button here and give them a sensible name. Well, I've just called mine Chris 2023, so I know when I've updated those. So those are going to be my settings. So when I bring my image in, let's bring one in. Let's see what we've got up here. The recent picture, let's have this one. And so this is the photograph that we're going to make an attempt to print. Let's open the print dialog box, File, Print. The first thing that we have to do is set up the printer, and it's already set for my colour printer here. If you've got more than one printer, you need to select it in the drop down box, and it's going to print one copy. We can change the layout from portrait to landscape, but landscape is fine for this one. And we can go to the print settings. I have a setting for Gold Silk A3, so we'll start off with that, and that already is one that I have set up beforehand. It's using the media type of premium luster photo paper, and it's printing in colour. In the quality options, we can pick 5. I think 4 will be good enough for 1440 by 720 dots per inch. OK to that. It's important here in the mode to ensure that you turn off all of the colour adjustment in the printer. You can, if you're letting the printer handle the colours, you can use different colour controls to manage the way that the colours will come out. But we're going to use here a profile for the paper that I'm using, and that's the most accurate way to get the colours correct. But that means that we have to turn off any other colour adjustments in the printer driver, or that's going to really mess up the picture. For the paper setting source, I'm going to have sheet on this occasion, and I'm going to choose an A4 paper to make a slightly smaller print for this demonstration. You can, if you wish, have a print preview beforehand, but Photoshop gives us that anyway, so I don't need to do that. So it's wise just to check the settings, the paper setting, the colour, the quality options, no colour adjustment, paper coming from the sheet source at A4 size, and we click OK to that. And ensure that we've got Photoshop managing the colours and that we have the correct colour profile. I can change the size of the print output, and there's a little box to tick here that allows you to simulate the paper surface and the print colours on that paper surface. So now we can we can click on print, and in a few moments we'll see the print coming out from the printer. This is my printer. It's quite an old one now. It's probably about 12-13 years old. It's a Epson Pro 3880 A2 printer, and this is what we're going to print our A4 sheet. I've put an A4 sheet of Permajet Gold Silk in there. It's one of my go-to papers, and in a moment we're going to see the print actually coming through. And here we are. I've just set up the print underneath a daylight lamp. In the daylight, as we've got today, I could actually just take it to the window, but if you're working in the evening, it's probably the best thing to have something that you can view the print under that's giving you fairly accurate colours. So that looks to me just about as good a match for the screen as it's possible to do on a paper surface, remembering that paper surfaces are reflective, and so they're always going to look slightly different to a screen, but the colours look faithful, and I'm very happy with the whites and the blacks and the grey balance right across the picture. So a successful print, first time, every time, if you follow the right procedure.